again, on behalf of our Young LT, I'd like to welcome all of you today, taking your time to learn together about critical parenting. So first of all, I want to welcome our trainers, speakers, Iris and Young Kwang. And also, thank you for coming. I know Saturday is you're busy for your family, but still you are willing to spend time together. Also, give yourself a pat Yeah, so I already forwarded to you the e-timetable. So this for your information. Throughout these 3 sections, we'll follow this timetable. Also, please come on time for next section next Saturday. And of course, I know you're, because of young parents, a lot of children, staff might not be able to come on time. I'll try this one thing. Other than that, if you have any question, feel free to ask myself and ask Young Kwang and Iris. And throughout the session, I pray that we have the fruitful time of learning together. So, shall I pass the time to Young Kwang?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, come, Joshua. Alright, firstly, I'd like to thank the Young Adults Ministry leaders for inviting us to share and discuss this very important privilege that God has given to us as parents. Some of you I know are not married yet, they're going to aspire to be married. Some of you are married, no children, enjoy it while you can. Once the children come, your whole life will be changed. As everyone looking at me will tell me. Alright, I'm so glad that some of you, I have seen you from young, and now you develop into an adults and parents as well. So I'm so happy for you. For the next 3 Saturdays, we will have a great time exploring and discussing this mystery of how to raise children in a way that is pleasing to God. That's the differentiating between earth and the outside world. We want to please God with our children as well. With me is my co-conspirator, Iris. I'm semi-retired, doing mainly business development for technology, SME. Auntie Iris has just retired from the HDB after 35 years of service. She's now a full-time grandma looking after our only grandson. I'm the grandpa who got no time, so it's okay. Alright, firstly as a start, maybe I should ask you just do a quick introduction of yourself, your spouse, any kids you have, and when you become a Christian. So for some of you, there's no need to give a testimony, and that one we can share offline. So maybe can we start from the right? My right, sorry.
Okay, I'm Parental and husband.
Yeah.
We have one son, Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah. So, we move back from
Alright, everyone.
Hello, I'm Hui Wen. Same son. Yeah, two plus years old.
Alright. One way we skip you. You want it?
Too young.
Too young. Joshua?
I'm Joshua, husband of Sakrisa. I have one son, Theodore, 15 months.
Alright, 15 months.
Sakrisa. Got the same kid. Yeah. I'm super.
Super, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Minhui.
Okay, when you accepted Christ? Well, as a kid, yes, I know.
When are you?
Clifford, my wife is Ewan, no kids.
No kids, huh? When you accepted Christ?
When I was young.
Young also, huh?
Ewan, Clifford's wife, no kid yet. Accepted Christ was 7 years ago.
Right. Great. Becky?
I accepted Christ and I got married to Marcus.
Alright,
Yeah.
good. I can see you actively serving the church as well.
Thank
Good.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Marcus' wife. We are looking forward to have a kid.
Alright, great. Marcus?
Hi, Marcus. Yeah, I'm Wendy's husband. Yeah, so also looking forward to starting a family soon.
Alright, great, fantastic. Yes?
I'm Kelly.
Kelly.
I have 3 children.
Oh.
Charlotte is my youngest.
Hello.
Yeah. So I accepted Christ when I was 13.
Alright,
Still
fantastic.
secondary school.
Yeah, fantastic.
Samuel.
young. Huh?
And then she said, wife and accepted price 92.
Okay. And then the young lady there.
Hey, my girlfriend.
Okay.
Not married, my girlfriend.
All right. Maybe we just go around the room and maybe ask, what is one thing you want to achieve in this workshop? You can just a short sentence or just a word. Maybe we start from this side then. What's one thing you would like to achieve in this workshop?
Not compulsory lah,
sentences.
just how to be a good parent.
How to be a good parent. Okay.
I don't know.
You don't have
Expectations.
Maybe then.
How to raise a child in today's world. How to raise a Christ-like child in today's world.
How to raise a Christ-like child. Huh? Different?
Like the biblical perspective of parenting.
Biblical perspective of parenting. Huh? Alright. Benji?
My one same as Clifford. Same as Clifford.
Say Clifford, okay. Marcus, don't say no, it's a wife. Huh?
Christian parenting.
Christian parenting. Okay. No, nothing of it. Doctor?
I think all of that, and maybe like there's a few ways to raise a child,
Yeah.
and maybe from the experience here we can share with each other
Yes.
on different methods and see which is the best.
Okay. This is the best. See the different method. Huh? What were you going to say? No.
For me, maybe what is the definition of biblical marriage?
What's the definition of biblical parenting? Okay.
Please to God.
Basically, that's pleasing to God. Alright.
Yeah, I think on top of the biblical perspective of parenting itself, hope to have something that's more practical and something that's actionable for
Actionable.
for
Okay.
parents.
Thanks.
Because in others is
We learn from each other.
there are more parents there, so including their one parents perspective.
Yeah. Please.
I think similar like how to be steward to the children that God
Oh, we have
has.
steward of children, not our children. Alright, let's steward the money. So there's children are our asset. Oh, okay. Sometimes it's not asset. Sometimes big expenses. Alright, thank you so much. Alright, let's come to the purpose of this workshop itself. For those of you who are actually looking for biblical parenting, I'm so sorry because really actually it was a miscom, but anyway it's okay because what we are doing is purposeful parenting because I'm not a theologian, neither am I a pastor or reverend, so I can't give you really biblical explanation. We can have some verses here and there, but we can share with you what we have gone through and also the book that we are using, Dr. Eliza. Book itself. She's a psychologist, PhD in psychology. She has practiced in the West and she practiced in Asia and Singapore as well. So she can give us a lot of help in that. So use the book itself. Alright, so the purpose of this workshop is to explore the relationship between a child and the parents, especially in the early years, which all of you are now facing or going to face if you're going to have children. In the early years of formative years itself. Alright, the content itself, we'll look at the role of parents. We'll look at the role of parents that we are in imparting life key values. The key values that we'll be addressing will be the role of parents in imparting key life values which are in accordance to God's direction and God's word. That's what we're looking for. For the busy modern parents in Singapore with many demands, the challenges are plentiful. If both are working, or even if one is working, one is staying home, it's still challenging. Alright? What are the roles for the many members of the family? Working parents, stay-at-home parents, caregiver, grandparents, the school, mass, social media, societal demands. What are all these that we're looking at? So this is what we're looking at. Okay, the learning method itself, there is basically the main learning method actually is among yourself. The breakout session, you can discuss, you can share, you can debate, you can challenge each other to learn from each other. Then we'll come back as a class and we'll share as well. That's the way we learn. So it's an active learning, which is an adult way of learning. So that's what we're looking at. Now the outline itself, the 3 Saturday session, the first one, this Saturday is part 1. This is what you need to know about children. What are the needs of children? From a children's perspective, what do we need to know? Part 2, which is next Saturday, we're going to look at what children really need. What do they really need from us as parents? And of course, the last part is purposeful parenting. So the first part 1, part 2 will set us to come to part 3, which is the purposeful parenting part. Alright? So, to start off this, before you learn anything, let's have a bit of discussion. I'm going to give you. Good. Alright. Now, just always ladies first. So, the ladies who want to come up and share? Ladies? Anyone want to come and tell us what you have discussed? I can't read your thoughts, please. Any ladies? Anyone?
Some.
Cannot be all don't know that. Some come.
I think it revolves around fruit of the spirit.
Say again?
It revolves around fruit of the spirit, the qualities.
Fruit of the spirit, Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then more of like the security and assurance that they have.
Yeah.
Like being confident of themselves.
Yeah.
At the same time, having empathy for others.
Yes.
And being humble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most importantly, dependence on God in every season of their life.
Yeah.
And then for factors, is a lot of environmental factors, including like people around them,
Yep.
family, friends, teachers,
Yep.
and then also appropriate exposure to what is around also, like social media and all that. And also things like making them feel loved by spending time with them, making them feel that they can trust the people that
Yeah.
are closest to them, so that they are open to sharing.
Trust,
And most importantly, parents as positive role models in their life.
role model. Okay, I like this one. Role model. So and then over here you have we are going to Sunday school again. Going through the spirit. Every Sunday school we have to go through the spirit. Auntie Iris can recite all of them. I can't. Kindness. Okay, the top here we have kindness. Okay, someone to be kindness. That's what we want to develop in the kids. We want to have security assured. Okay, security very important, especially for young kids. Right? You have to be confident. The only way to be confident is to they have to have the security based confidence. Empathy for others, humility, don't be proud. Alright. Christ likeness, all of us strive to be. So this is, if you will strive to be it, you have to start it from the foundation of the year. Alright. So for the guys, who want to share?
Okay. Yeah, so this is not the SCS 7 core value. Guys, yeah. So first is wisdom. Wisdom would be allowed to make their own decisions and allowed to make mistakes. So when they make mistakes, you can correct them, but you don't say until like they in the future.
Put them down.
Yeah, put them down. Yeah. So righteous also knowing what's right and wrong. Respect. So not only respect to their own parents, respect to the people around them, respect the boundaries. They respect the boundaries that children have and their parents. Resilience, so teach them that failures are okay, are acceptable.
Yeah.
Not because, doesn't mean you have a failure, you doomed for life. So, kindness, I think similar.
Yeah.
Patience, so actually this one is more related to wisdom. So both parents and grandparents have to bring up the child consistently. You cannot have a different way of thinking, different way of
Yeah.
Okay. And patience. So like Jason shared, right? The way he teach his kids patience is to tell them up to 3 times to wait. If the 4th time they ask again, you say no more, whatever they're asking for, no more. So that's
Okay. Okay.
Empathy. So they have to people choose similar. Then for patience also we talk about delayed gratification. So things like we don't you have to teach them to be patient, not give them things immediately when they ask for it.
Instant gratification.
Yeah. Then also empathy. I think John Senior shared allowed to be who he is, allowed to be vulnerable around his parents,
Yeah.
and feeling safe with his parents so that he can share. Because nowadays kids like they don't open up to their parents. They just talk to their friends, WhatsApp their friends, share their friends, but they rarely share personal things with you. So good to have an environment where the kids share with them, very open with parents.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Lee. Thank you, everybody. All right, actually, it's quite close to what the author has written. Let's quickly, not quickly, let's slowly go through what the author write in her books. This is actually, if the book sell, sorry, let me show you the book. This is the book that I'm using most of the time. All right, this is a guide to purposeful parenting, as I introduced the author earlier. So I will try to follow the book as close as I can, but not everything written there. Auntie Iris and myself is fully in agreement. Right? There's some different opinion, but the God likeness, the Christ likeness, that one is a constant. That's not.
We will let you know which are the parts that I don't quite agree. All of us have our own opinions.
Yeah. So from what the men and the ladies share, I was hoping that the ladies and men can have a different in opinion or different in the way you look at value of children. But look like fairly consistent. Everybody is very.
It's a list that will be never ending.
Never ending.
Yeah.
I thought maybe guy will strive on the uprightness, duty, honor, country sort of thing. Ladies will be empathy, humility, all these things about both. Right? That's what you quite expect. But good. So we're all on the same page here. Alright, that's chapter 1, the first part of chapter 1. The chapter 1 itself on this book look at the children's love, the love of the children, the attachment and the developmental needs when they are growing up, especially from young, from newborn upward. Of course, we look at the other part, the adolescent, the teenager, that's completely another, we have to look at another workshop. This one is looking at very young children. Okay, where am I? Sure that my slide I need. Okay, got it? Alright, let's slowly go through. The first need for acceptance is for acceptance. Every kid wants to be accepted, same as us. We also want to be accepted by the society, by our family first, our parents, our families, by where we work, where we go, our society, our group of friends in the country. We want to be accepted. Alright, for our kids especially, for our young kids, it is especially important to be accepted by his biological parents. The biological parent is the first one that they will feel the attachment to. They want to be accepted. So you realize that for people who are adopted or whatever way, sooner or later they will long for their biological parents. This is nature, or this is God's creation. Alright, how they think their parents feel about them will have great impact on how they feel about themselves. Right? The parents' attitude towards them is going to impact how they feel about themselves. So if you give them a lot of love, they also will love themselves. That's very important. Your child loves you. He needs you. Definitely. How you love him back will let him know how is he valued as a human being, as a person. Even for a very young child, it's the same. Alright? You can see. Now we can hear many a time we hear exaggerated parents exclaim, if my children love me, why is it that they give me such a hard time? Why don't they just listen to what I say? We can hear that, right? Sometimes in the shopping center and all these things like, wow, misbehavior. It is something because your child may not know how to communicate, especially for a very young child. Alright? A young child may hit you, but what he's saying is that he needs to hold you, need you to hold him. Sometimes we miscommunicate. Alright? For an older child, he may just misbehave because he just wants your undivided attention. So sometimes we read all these cues. But basically, the child wants you, loves you. That's the first thing. He wants you to be, he wants he or she to be accepted by you as a parent first. Accepted. Now, children need a very secure and consistent environment. secure environment to develop both.
Yeah, sir. Okay, allow me to just share one example here about the need for acceptance. Just from my journey as a parent who was working. So the kids' need for acceptance is quite often in my time like this. Maybe you're more wise now because I see a lot of young guys yourself are very wise. But the need for a parent who is very desperate to bring a child up right and well and working, you feel the need to compensate for the kid. But I learned from Dr. Eliza that it's actually the wrong, incorrect thing to always feel wanting to compensate with good words lah, sayang very much lah, and buy toys lah. Some of you all may already know this. But she gave me the words why it is wrong to do that. It is wrong to do that because what they want from you is this acceptance. And acceptance does not mean you giving them toys. Acceptance means you giving them undivided attention. That's all they need. So being away for a long time is a no-no. Like business trips, of course sometimes it happens, but if it becomes a norm, if they feel they don't have your attention, that's what they want. And acceptance also is so inbuilt in them of wanting biological of their biological parents. That's why we sometimes hear people say that it's better that the child wants you to beat him. Why? Because beating is negative attention, but it's still attention rather than no attention. So that's how strong this biological need for acceptance of the biological parents is. So this made me stood up like in the book. So I thought she wrote it quite well and emphasized that, and she has seen it psychologically as a doctor.
Okay, thank you. So every child is born with a natural desire for emotional connection with his parents. His great desire for love make him actually a child incredibly vulnerable. Alright, it has been exploited by some people, but it's incredible. The challenge for parents is then to nurture strong bonds in order to influence them in a direction that is good for them and the world and according to God's way. We want them to be guided by godly wisdom, whether we are physically with them or not. This is very evident as they grow older. When they're young, if you don't build it, when they grow older, especially if they have to be away from you for whatever reason, study or whatever, if they don't have a strong foundation, without you, they will go haywire. Alright, and both myself and we both studied overseas, we can see that happening when they go overseas for study. It can happen. Right? Now, what she said earlier, children need your physical presence. Understandably, where one or both parents are separated from the children for extended period due to work or any other reason. Alright? This may even happen without being out of the country. For example, a very busy working father or mother. Before the child is up, they are up already. By the time they come back, the child is long asleep. You hardly see them. This can happen. Leaving home, alright? As I said, often to compensate, we lavish them with gifts and other things. But that is what she already explained. What is needed is undivided attention. If you physically cannot be together, then the next best thing is a one-to-one call to your child. Don't say you call put on speakerphone, just call the child directly, write a letter, write a postcard. I know postcard is lost generation, my time traveler. Now, most of the time when we send a postcard, by the time we come home, the postcard has not reached. I know that. But now maybe an email, if you give the child big enough. If not, a postcard is very nice actually. I enjoy sending postcard. Right. There's only a very limited window where a child treasures physical closeness with his parents. Very limited. So by the time you reach adolescence, they will prefer to be on their own. They want to explore their own identity, their own values outside of parents. So you only have a very small window to work with them, to be with them physically. But if you are close with them from early age, you realize as they grow older, they treasure this closeness. So even when they are adults, they will still treasure this closeness. Especially, in my case, Iris and Amanda, they are still very close. They are still talking. All right. So for father and son, a little bit more difficult. But father, we got to do it. No choice. No. Maybe we can go fishing, lah.
Again, Dr. Eliza gave me some words to put my experience, Young Kwang and my experience. They are called memory banks. So there are a few ways, many ways. Each of you will find your own way to build your memory banks and emotional banks. She gave me another phrase. So memory banks, what a day is all your happy times, you play together, the photos, the places you go together, life and you laugh together. So why Amanda and I have very good relationship, I believe now, is because we really built memory banks layer by layer all the way even until now. So I think this bank is something that is different from your banking channel, but it's something worthwhile to think about how you always deposit something in a way that makes sense to you.
Sadly, I'm excluded from the bank.
No,
So they go on multi-day hiking, I'm not allowed to go.
Women only.
Because I'm disqualified. They go to Mongolia 4 times, I'm also excluded. Cannot squat. Okay, joke aside. Now, every child needs someone that they can constantly relate to, right? Someone they can trust, someone to feel comfortable, someone that can feel comfortable and secure. This is the caregiver, whoever she. Sadly, this may not be his parents. Could be his grandparents, could be a babysitter, or even their domestic helper. Some parents are aware of this. So what do? They change their domestic helper every 2 years, which is terrible. You break in the connection, the little connection you have, the relationship you have is gone. It's terrible, you feel very insecure. Some may feel that you only need to be closeness when the child reaches formal school. That means year 7. Early year, no need. But that's very wrong. The foundational year for relationship building is lost forever. The parent will have little leverage because the child do not feel emotionally connected to them. Alright? Ideally, at least one parent stay at home, but in our case, not possible. Alright? In most Singaporean homes, both parents work. Just a little bit shared from our example, myself and Auntie Iris, both of us are working. We have 3 kids. Right? When they're young, when Timothy was young, even when he was less than a year old, we were taking care of a babysitter who is actually a friend of ours. And he was very fortunate for her because he took care of Timothy. She got 2 kids, but they're already in school going age. So Timothy was the pride of their house. But it's still a babysitter. We take him back every evening, even very tough, especially for Auntie Iris, because at that time I was in the army, hour can be uncertain. I was also taking night classes. So sometimes she remember she take a bus with Timothy climbing all over the bus. So that's a challenge. But that's something that parents, we have to go through.
Okay, let me just interject that the part that I said, I'll tell you where I disagree with the writer. This is one of the parts because she constantly tells that grandparents, I'm not trying to defend myself, but for a fact that she states that grandparents are the outsourced method. So if you give it to grandparents, you say it's outsourcing your kid. So while it's true, actually, it's not the own biological parent. Like I'm kind of what I'm saying, sometimes in life it's just not the perfect ideal. So what do you do about it? So what, personally what we have dealt with it, how we've dealt with it is through what we call, and Dr. Eliza is the one who also gave me the phrase, common standards. Although she disagrees that grandparents can be a good substitute, but she also has a theory that says that as long as your common standards, it will still be workable. So I think that's something that will help us. So as grandparents, Momui and being the grandparents to be, and those of us in our generation, I always advise people that, hey, it's workable, but just make sure that you give each other the flexibility to work out common standards, but may not be the same methods. Standards are not the same methods. Methods change, but standards can be negotiated, not negotiated, standards can be agreed upon, but the method of doing it can be different. Example is how you get a child to sleep. You know the child needs sleep, but the way to do it can be very different. So I also learned from Maggie this time around with my grandkid that, hey, yeah, we all agree on a common standard that he needs more sleep. Sleep begets more sleep. But how do you go about doing it can be very different. So this is something that I learned from this book also to share with you as a practical thing to remember how to have this grandparent also as part of the journey.
Alright, as far as possible, for as parents, even with the children, if with the grandparent or with the babysitter one, we take over as soon as we can and show to have the physical togetherness with the kids. Alright? Okay, next thing, every child needs to know firstly, who am I? This is not a movie, it's not not what's his name, Jackie Chan movie. Is his identity. What am I worth? Only a parent can say, you belong to me. You are my son or my daughter. Right? This gives a sense of worth to the child, a direction in life, and a secure base for growing well. Very important. So every child must feel that he belongs to you. You must show it. When they're young, of course, you show it, you also verbalize it. Alright? You try as much as you can. Not the old ancient Chinese style. The father is really separated. No? You are to be seen but not to be heard. I only see you when I call you. That doesn't work. That old school doesn't work. Alright, so nowadays it's different. Now the next thing I want to share is children form very strong attachment in their very early years. Babies as young as 6 weeks, those are young mothers you know. They can recognize the mother's voice within 6 weeks, from 6 weeks onward or even earlier. Parents should develop strong bonds from their early years to give them a secure base to develop. Very important foundation. Right? Those early years cannot be replaced by another caregiver. So now, fortunately, a lot of mothers are given maternity leave. Some of them, last time it's 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Nowadays, I know many took 6 months because school do this as well. So for those of you, if you can, your job allowed, try as long as possible. For fathers, no excuse because there's no maternity leave nowadays, right? Don't save it for your holiday or your golfing holiday or whatever. It's for your kids. That's why it's not maternity holiday leave. What makes the first 5? The child has a different capacity, to develop different or significant relationship with different people across their life stages. It's not that they love you more, they forget about their side. Or grandparents, they love stay with grandparents, that means to take away from you. No, they can develop, can multiply. And it's very important for a child to feel loved by as many people as possible. So grandparents have a role as well, to love the grandchild as well. Alright?
There's this phrase that she uses, it takes a village. I think you've heard this before. And it's very, very good. It really takes a village to raise up a wholesome child, a secure child. So grandparents only one small sector. So anybody that the child interacts with, the community really has a responsibility. So that's why it's important who you bring the kid to work, to be with, interact with, friends with, mix with. These are all these communities that we will absorb as a sponge. So, I mean, I didn't have these words in the past, but you always say that it cannot mix with bad people or whatever. Make sure you only mix with good people. I think the wisdom behind it is when they are very young, they will just absorb monkey see, monkey do. So it's very important to put them in the right context and the right people.
All right. Something very Singaporean or maybe Asian is actually in the city. One common danger, especially when the child reach formal education age, is the drive to move the kids from one activity to the next, even outside of school. So you all know all those enrichment class, piano class, dancing class, don't know what class, math class, plenty. You drive the kids from one activity to the next. It becomes so busy. The kids don't have time to pause. You don't have time to rest. Next thing you drive them mad. Oh no, sorry. That's my word. And without pause, there is no time for reflection. No time for thoughtful conversation and exchanges between them and you, or between friends, or between their activity. We see this phenomena starting earlier and earlier. So sad. There's no time to waste. Very sad, huh? We should waste time sometimes. Spend time together. Alright? Especially if you have the chance. Let's go for a walk, whatever you want to do some crazy thing together among children. Alright? We take a cardboard, we go down the reservoir dam, we just slide down the cardboard. Only free one. Very fun, children will laugh. She put milk onto a cardboard and then push him around in the cardboard. Cardboard come from all those delivery service no need money, just push around. They enjoy it. So let's do this together. Let's try. So this activity, you have to moderate. Everything is good, but not everything is helpful or beneficial. Remember that.
Yeah, Papa, sorry. This one is something also very close to me. Again, I found very good language that Dr. Eliza shared. This external stimuli, what you have, piano lessons, swimming lessons, taekwondo lessons, they are external sources of getting the child's interest activated. Why they are dangerous, I can say the word dangerous, is because you're teaching the child to rely on external focus rather than internal focus on what is innovative, what is creative. So after some time, they do not realize that they're not thinking themselves. They have lost the ability to develop an inner self-interest to create something out of nothingness. Like what Uncle Young Kwang said, it's not wasted time. You really have to lead the kid to wonder and see what is best for themselves, rather than you thinking A, B, C, D to Z. The harmful thing is it really takes away their own initiative. So they have it will become, as an adult, will be even worse because you'll be so needing instant gratification, which is Clifford was saying, because you need to be stimulated fast and furious. And violent games are this feeds you with that kind of external stimuli. So it's very slippery path to be taking away the ability of the kid to stabilize themselves and look for things that is from themselves to interest and inquire and be curious. Also, this is something that I want to emphasize because I see it very happening in my workplace. I have young parents, or even slightly older than yourself, who are down this path, and they are, not to say excuse, but why they're doing it is because they like it. I say, are you sure? Yeah, I asked the kid, they like it. Of course the kid will say they like it. But you as the parent will have greater wisdom than that. Is that enough or not to say that, oh, the kid like it, therefore you go? And a lot of them spend hours and hours waiting in the mall, waiting for the kid to finish, and they don't have a life over the weekend. Nothing at all can be done over the weekend because they're just shocking the kids around. So this is something that's happening really very rampantly. So something that I wanted to share to, I don't know whether you're doing it or not, but it is happening in the workplace where I am at this time.
Right. Now, there's the second thing, and the second last thing I want to share is something which is prevalent right now. Earlier, during my time raising the 3 kids, we don't have it because we don't have such thing called internet. We don't have such thing as so much available of mass media, TV, all these things. Right? We are very well connected. Information are fed to the children even from a very young age. They're exposed. Parents need to listen and interpret this information for the children. What is happening in the world to their young children? They need a mediator to explain to them. Parents not only have to understand what is happening, but also help the children determine what things ought to be. We read so much right now. My favorite big children, a little bit older one, they go and not hear from you, hear from you, from a friend. You got to mediate for them and explain to them what it should be from a God perspective, because that's what we are. To do this, right, parents, you've got to seek God's word and direction to ensure that you are in the right path yourself. Alright? So we have to seek example. The last thing I want to talk about is something you all put down there, value. How do you teach your child the right value? Unfortunately, values are not taught. They are taught. That means you've got to show it. You must set the example and be the role model, which you all have shared just now. How we react to everyday situation, especially in their present, will greatly shape our child's value. Alright? Many of us had parents in the early years of Singapore independence, when Singapore is not well off. At first, it was quite difficult actually. I remember the naval withdrawal. A lot of us stay in slum and all this thing. Difficult. Our parents who would have gone through hardship, I'm sure our value, when we caught it from our parents, this hardship part of it, this closure, this not wasting money and all these things, it's come from learning from our parents. So for you guys who are now the more fortunate generation in a way, but not really true, but We have to inculcate this value to the children. We have to pass it on. We may have an idea of family we aspire to raise to. We may have an idea. But the demand from many corners, all of you have a lot of demands, right? May cause us to compromise. It results, we deviate from the direction we want to go, the idea we want to go. Be very conscious of it. There is a need to be a conscious parent. Parenting, can be conscious. Be very careful of this value system. Right? We have to show it. For example, at home, the way you show it, the way you talk, and then when you are in the car, someone comes into your corner, you start cursing somebody, you start getting angry, which all of us impulsively can do it. Restrain with a child into you. As a matter of fact, restrain altogether. We don't do it, right? So that you don't have to explain to your parents. But if you do something wrong, I mean, if something like all right, be brave enough, be godly enough to tell the children you are sorry, you apologize for it. Nothing works better than an apology. Be prepared to apologize. Guys, father, not easy. Cannot. Can, have to. I'm sorry, I actually went. I'll come back. I will start off with a Bible verse because we are church. But I only highlight the verse number 3. Verse 3 says in 1 Peter chapter 5 says, not lording over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. So for us parents, God give you children. You are not the Lord over them, but you are to set an example for them. I will skip the breakup session. I will just go to the question, just take a quick look. Right, the question on the okay. We have done the breakout session number 1. So basically I have question is, what are you doing to promote each of the quality systems in the breakup exercise month? What guidance can I or my spouse provide? What are my challenges in guiding my children in developing this quality? Actually, it's a very important question. But because due to factor of time, we will not go into, but keep this in mind. When I walk through the second part of Dr. Eliza chapter 2, keep in mind what is this, all this guidance that we are supposed to do. Alright, I cannot go too much. Let's go straight. The second part of Dr. Eliza's section on what you need to know about children. The chapter 2 itself is parental guidance needed. We all know that. Let's slowly go through what are the guidance required. Firstly, parents need to help the children in regulating their behavior. Firstly, can all of you hear me? Yes. Or like RSM, right? Right? Parents need to help children in regulating their behavior. They will behave, right or wrong, we will regulate it. Right? If we allow them to go off in their own way, then we're going to have problems. We've got to discipline them. By God's design, human beings are very funny, a child is completely helpless and needs the constant physical presence of an attentive caregiver, attentive. For the mother, I know the moment it turns, the kids can fall down on. Right? It turns, he may put something in his mouth. I'm sure you know that, right? And human being, you look at all the whole animal kingdom, human beings got the longest maturation period, take the longer to be developed. Some children never get mature. They are forever childish, the way they behave, right? Joke aside, but that's true, that's the way the human being, God makes us that way. This prolonged dependency gives the parents time to impart vital information and training. So don't think it as a burden. God gives you more time to impart the value to them. When young, they are taught what is danger. For example, not to touch something. They need clear boundaries. I'm sure a lot of mother here and father here, your children will touch anything they want. It becomes painful. Second, the most important one is to put everything into their mouth. Danger or not also put, so you've got a constant surveillance. Constant. One salah means problem. A child derives great security from knowing that he will be protected from his own harmful choices. His choice, but he will be harmful to him, but the child knows that you will protect him. I'm sure you have practice or practices preventing your children from putting something harmful. Ultimately, all parents hope to train their children to have internal control for correct behavior. Right? Especially in the internet age where parental presence are difficult to enforce. We are talking about children with older. Alright, and my goodness, children of even pre-primary school are already getting onto smartphone and internet. I'm sure you see that, right? And it is a double-edged sword, the internet. It can be good, it can be very bad. The worst thing is we cannot supervise. It's very difficult to supervise. They can put the number of screen time and all this thing, but during their screen time, what do they see? Not like last time TV, you know, TV very easy, the channel is fixed. You know, if at most change channel, but the content cannot change. Right? But nowadays the content can change, you know? They can change it, you know? They're much smarter than us. Definitely smarter than me, lah. Very blur one. Okay, the next thing I talk about, only parents will know the emotion of his child because he or she trained him. A pre-verbal infant is not yet aware of his feelings, but he knows sensations like hunger, pain, tiredness. You get cranky. An observant parent will be able to help the child by delivering his emotions by verbalizing them. You can help the children to verbalize so they can follow it and understand it. Or learn it. They learn his feelings are acceptable and appropriate. So when he's a bit cranky, he makes a bit of noise, we know that we tell him that you are tired, they know that they are tired. So the reaction will come. They know it's the correct behavior. As he grows older, he needs to know what to do with his feelings, especially anger and frustration. Children, they get angry, they get frustrated, especially when he starts to socialize with others. Right? He needs to learn how to respond to other people's emotions as well. For other children, we throw tantrums. How do they react? The parent needs to be on a constant lookout for teaching moments such as this. You have to look out for it and have to teach them. Whether they misbehave or they see other people misbehave, of course, we want to see other people misbehave, then we can use it as a teaching moment, right? Not your own child, right? My own child, fantastic, ideal one. But not true, sometimes it happens. So we have to use all the teaching moments as much as we can to teach them, to show them. And we have to enforce them. Children will need a firm foundation. He needs a firm foundation. He needs affirmation of his behavior. Right? Any small effort that is done well should be applauded and should be encouraged, his behavior. But of course, misbehavior, you have to do the corrective action as well. This will build his confidence and you will be able to stand up to negative peer pressure, especially when you go to school. You will have negative peer pressure or peer pressure. It may not be negative, but peer pressure to conform to something maybe not correct. For example, in some schools they may be playing certain card game and everything. The child may follow it and neglect. So we have to build the foundation early so they know that is wrong early. The bottom line is that children really care a great deal about how their parents feel about them. So we got to build it in. The bond must be there. So they know how we feel, how we express them, how we feel with their behavior. In their behavior, how we feel, we have to build it in from early age. Now, the second part, the next thing we'll talk about is we are constantly bombarded by news of terrorist acts, mass destruction, scandals, killing, famine, LGBT, etc., etc. Our children are increasingly confronted by moral and ethical decision and judgment. This will challenge their character, especially in areas that are grey. Alright? LGBT is something that we all are confronting with right now for children. Our children are young, but sooner or later they will confront it. And if you don't give the foundation early, they will go along the way of the world, which is what's happening. Alright? What value they are developing, especially how they value others. How do they value others? Are they seeing the world as a utilitarian? That means exists to serve him, or with empathy and wants to contribute to a better world? Which way do you want? Does he want to serve him, or we will serve others? Alright? Do we guide their character to have a desire to live according to God's words and God's love? Have we done it? Alright? We must guide them that way. Especially all this information, all this news are so easily available now, they can see it themselves. Another closely related guidance needed is to go beyond self-actualization. I will not go to Maslow hierarchy of needs, but basically you reach when your basic need is already there, you want to self-actualize, that means you want to promote your own self-centered potential and desire. That is the world is doing now. Right? We want a Christ base, we got a God base, they will promote themselves and become selfish. We must not lose sight of the Maker's direction for us in life. We are to try to serve others. Now, just now we talked about role model. I want to come back again to role model. This is very important. Children need role model to aspire to. Right? Most children will do that, even for us. Value which their model uphold, which the child also aspire to. Their role model, whatever value they have, whatever they see, they also want to aspire to the same. Sadly, in this age of mass media and celebrity, many of them, of this role model, has questionable values. We can see, right? Some of these people. It's even more important for parents to be their role model. Don't let somebody else substitute you. You are the best role model, the closest role model. Don't let this celebrity or whatever replace you. Be the role model yourself. Mankind will be lost if not for those values we aspire towards. Well, mankind, everyone will go on their own way, their own self-actualization. But God called us to have virtue. We know that it will make up our character and the substance of a person, the direction that God wants us to go. Right? The value that God gives to us. Values are often caught rather than taught. I've said that. Your small act of kindness will be observed by your child. For example, in a hawker center, some old lady or what comes to you, sell you a packet of tissue. You actually have tissue plenty in the pocket now, but you still buy it. And instead of taking 3, you take 1. The child will ask you, you take a moment to explain to them why you are doing it. It's a good learning moment, simple, but the child can see it. The child can see it, all right? Use every opportunity as teaching moment from your daily life. Or when you read a report or you come across mass media report, use it as a teaching moment to teach your child, right, from as young as they can understand. Your child is watching you. Any inconsistency will be exposed. If you are inconsistent, you will be exposed. As I said earlier, at home you are so good. When I put you in the car, you become a devil. Because the way you drive, the way you curse the people, you will be exposed. Alright? Alright? We will do this. They will do what we do. Don't forget it, huh? Not what you say, no. They will do what we do. So be very conscious of that. Now, yes, children are sometimes beyond our comprehension. And those of you with young children will say, why cannot follow instructions? Why cannot follow what I say, what I tell you to do? Children, why cannot do that? Value and characters are foundational and need to be constantly reinforced. Parents, unfortunately, our children need a lot of reinforcement, need a lot of revision, need a lot of samula. Need to tell that again, and again, because they need to be reinforced and reinforced. Alright? Sometimes you have to be very patient, have to be perseverance. You need perseverance in guiding your child. All of us will know that. Sometimes, especially the older they get, the more perseverance you need. It's not easy. It is not easy. Alright? We want them to behave a certain way that they will not behave here. But don't forget, don't impose yourself on them. This is also the other danger. You want to impose yourself on them, then they will rebel. Especially when they're older, they will rebel. Be conscious of it. Now, we have stressed the importance of consistency as a child watching us in all situations. Another consistency sorely required is between father and mother. Between father and mother, the way you raise a child. Kids are expert in exploiting this. If they can see the difference between father and mother, the way they treat, they know how to exploit it. And of course, they put in the picture the grandparent as well. Right? If mommy do not give, then go to father. Sure can get one, especially if accompanied by tears. Go to the father and cry, sure can get one. All father are the same, all very soft-hearted one. Macho outside, but inside all soft-hearted one. Sometimes it is the parents' fault when they divide the child rearing tasks among themselves. Mother will take care of discipline, and father will take care of the running around. But it's not true. Raising a child is joint. It's joint venture, equally responsible for each other and for the child as well. For example, discipline is Papa's job. The child knows that he should not misbehave in front of Papa. But in front of mommy, okay lah. Mommy not in front of discipline. So mommy, I can do what I want. Fathers are often easily swayed by a child's demands, especially daughters. All fathers are the same. When it comes to girl, very soft spot. Luckily, I only got one daughter. Alright, so be careful. Mommy may be trying to enforce discipline. Please support each other. Or the other way around as well. You must support each other. If you can, if you got the opportunity, plan beforehand. But sometimes not possible. Sometimes we are reactive. But if you know each other, if you talk to each other long enough, you will know each other thought, each other course action, reinforce each other. The last thing you want to do is to undermine somebody else's direction or discipline. Right? Now, last thing I'll talk about is in the early years of immigration in US, the Christian family are well known for their industry, the hard work, and doing well to achieve their goals. The Christian family in US. And similarly, here in Singapore, the immigrants itself, the Chinese plus other immigrants, they had a hard time coming to Singapore. When they come here, they do well because they work hard. The value is. Alright, there's a saying, they say, if something is worth doing, then it is worth doing it well. So we have to persevere. Such value can only be imparted to our children when we practice it consistently. Do we do it well in whatever task we are assigned with? Be it our work, be it social work, be it church work, whatsoever. I remember many years ago, my care group was tasked to organize a church retreat many years ago. First one that we had to do it. Our CG leader impressed upon us that our effort and result must be much better than what we can do in a circular work, or circular job. Because we are doing God's work, so we have to do much better than what we are doing for our daily life. Because this is God's work. So, for us, just remember, we have to persevere, we have to make it God's work. Looking after children itself, we must give them worthwhile goals to achieve. Alright? Not that we set the goal, but point them to the direction. One thing that is troubling a lot of parents, especially when children are older, going to education and all these things. Sometimes they do not know what they want to do. Sometimes today they want to do gymnastics, tomorrow they don't want to learn this. But why? Must tell them, if you want to do something, do it well, finish it. You don't have to compete, but at least for that session itself, that course, they want to finish it, do it well. After that, then you decide which way you will go. Especially in education. Because when they're young, they not exactly sure what they want to do. We can give them all the advice. Later on, they may change their mind because they realize that that's not the direction of the goal. I remember Timothy. He did the diploma in hospitality. That time, the IR integrated result was just coming out, right? Very hot. All of them want to do IR. So he was given course in mass media. In Nia was not easy to get in, but he got in. But he decided to go for hospitality. Everybody goes to hospitality. So after 3 years, he finished it. So he passed everything. It's good. But after his internship, he tell me one day, "Pa, I will not want to work in a hotel anymore. Hospitality, you work in a hotel. Hotel life is 24/7, irregular hour. That's expected." So he tell me that. But he said, I said, "Okay, you make a decision. That's good for you. Tell us what next you want to do. We will support you another course. But that's it. After that, it's your own own." So he took out another course and quite happy. A new way. He went to business development and everything. So he's quite happy with it. All right. So for parents, we must tell our children we will do something, do it well. Finish it first. Then show it. After that, then you decide what direction you go. Seek God's guidance whatever you do. Alright. Any question and comments so far on parental guidance needed for a child? Oh, okay. Here, don't be blind. I cycle you enough, I smoke enough that nobody got question. Anybody? Any question and comments? I know it's 5 to 6, so don't have to look at the watch. I promise Joseph that we'll start on time and end on time. That's all I promise you. Alright. We have come to one mark to the end of today's session. I thank you all for coming. But I want to maybe today, the whole session, is there any learning point you all have? Anything you all can see? Share? Anything? We can just record it so that we can get back on it. Any learning point from today, the whole session, the first part of it? With what a child really needs, and second is parental guidance. Any comments? Any learning point you got?
Can I share one?
Yeah.
I think it's good to know all this. My learning point is about conscious parenting. I think the challenge for us parents is conscious parenting requires time out to think, to reflect, to slow down, to be aware and mindful of what we say or don't say. I think the challenge is where can we be mindful? How can we be more conscious, given how our time is? Like today we can. I think today we can absorb, we can learn because thankfully our kids are not here. But when it gets down to the day-to-day, and then I think it becomes more challenging to be conscious in our parenting. So for me, I'm not sure how. So I'm just talking just now that having grandparents who do help at certain moments allow us parents to have pockets of time to be a bit more conscious and reflective. So that's my take home.
So for those of you who are married with kids and everything, if your parent or parent-in-laws are around, it's good to actually start down. I won't use the word of source. Give them the privilege looking after your kids. Then you all too can have a time out of time. Right? It's not easy, but you can try to do it. Right? Leon and Amanda does it, so we do take over. So the grandmother complained. He thought he worked only weekday, but now weekend also. But we're quite happy to do it. Alright, Leo is such a joy to be with our time. Alright, I said that it's physically getting more and more demanding. Anybody else? Any insight today? Any learning point? Especially those who already have kids. Marcus and Wendy, I hope you're not overwhelmed by all this. Kids are good, huh? I heard just now you said 1 dozen, right? Okay, anybody else? How about Jonathan over there? You are the father of 3 kids.
Well, I'm just very comforted to be in this community where we can share knowledge and even some of our burdens. So one thing that you share and encourage us to do is say sorry to our kids. Yeah. So I practice that. But easy to practice intellectually. I think to actually practice it sincerely and one that the kid can understand where your heart is and your position is not so easy.
Yes, correct. Yeah, parenting is not something that we are given a cookbook, then just follow ABCD, it's all correct. No such thing. There's no such cookbook. The only book that you can have is the Bible. That's the only one that will change, but it's not that easy. Because along the way you fumble, along the way you make mistakes. All right, children are like that. So God gave it to us. It's a privilege to be a parent. All right, and you only have a short window, foundational years, first few years before they become adolescents, teenagers, and then terrible already. Right? Not that they are terrible, but you know why? Because your time with them is not so simple. All right, but of course, I mean, I have 3 adult kids. The different stages, life stages, right? Right now it's so nice, no why not? Every time they can bring us for dinner. They one who suggest now, they want to stuff now, they all going to do. I don't need to do it. Not bad, huh? So for those, get faster, then you can, the kids will look after you. If not, we will call it a day, but I would like to close with a prayer. Who did I ask? Did I ask somebody to close this with prayer? No, No, then I can have, Kwang Wei, can you close us with prayer since you are here?
Of course. Let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we want to give you thanks because you are our Heavenly Father. A Father who cares and loves us, even though we have gone against you many times, but you still have showered and lavished your grace and your love to all of us. I want to pray for all these young parents and parents to be in the future, that you continue to give them grace and strength, a lot of your abundant grace and love, so that they can in turn give their love to their own children as well, and bring them up in the way of God. In Jesus' name I pray.
Yeah, just a bit. I mean, can the guys just help me hold the table, put it behind there? The chair, I think the Sunday school, they need the chair here or they stack? Okay, then the